The flight attendant's hand was shaking as she approached seat 12A. She'd been working for Delta Airlines for 7 years, but she'd never had to deal with anything like this. In row 12, Muhammad Ali sat by the window, reading a newspaper. And in seat 12B, waiting to board, was a man wearing a small silver pin on his lapel. A pin she recognized immediately. It was a Confederate flag, crossed with a burning torch, the symbol of the Ku Klux Klan. "Mr. Ali," she whispered, leaning down. "I can move you to first class. No charge. You don't have to sit here." Ali looked up from his paper, then glanced at the empty seat beside him. He saw the pin on the tray table, left there deliberately by the man who'd boarded early. A calling card. A threat. Before we continue with the story, you can support us by subscribing to the channel and liking the video. Don't forget to write in the comments where you're watching from and how old you are. Let's continue. "No, thank you," Ali said calmly. "I'll stay right here." The flight attendant's eyes widened. "Sir, I really think." "I said I'll stay." What happened in the next 4 hours at 30,000 feet would become one of the most powerful untold stories in Muhammad Ali's life. A story that wouldn't surface until 2003, when a retired flight attendant finally broke her silence. A story about hatred, humanity, and what happens when you refuse to look away from the ugliest parts of the human soul. It was March 15th, 1975. Muhammad Ali was flying from New York to Atlanta for a speaking engagement at Morehouse College. He was 33 years old, heavyweight champion of the world for the second time, and one of the most recognizable faces on the planet. He just defeated Chuck Wepner in a brutal 15-round fight that had inspired a young actor named Sylvester Stallone to write a movie about a boxer, a movie that would later be called Rocky. But on this particular Saturday afternoon, Ali wasn't thinking about boxing. He was thinking about the man about to sit next to him. The man's name was William Hendricks, though Ali wouldn't learn that until later. Hendricks was 47 years old, a tire factory manager from rural Georgia, and a proud member of the Ku Klux Klan for over 20 years. He'd inherited his membership from his father, who'd inherited it from his father. 3 generations of Hendricks men had worn the white hood. When Hendricks walked down the aisle and saw Muhammad Ali in seat 12, his face went red. Not with embarrassment, with rage. He stopped at row 12, looked down at Ali, and said loud enough for half the cabin to hear, "Well, I'll be damned. They're letting your kind fly, first class now." The cabin went silent. Every head turned. The flight attendant froze in the galley, her hand on the phone to call security. Ali slowly folded his newspaper, looked up at Hendricks, and smiled. Not a friendly smile, not a hostile smile, something in between. Something that said, "I've heard worse, and I'm still here." "Actually," Ali said, his voice calm and measured, "this is coach. But even if it was first class, yes, they let my kind fly there. We've been doing it for a while now. You should try it sometime. Seat's right here next to me." Hendricks's jaw clenched. He looked around the cabin, perhaps expecting support from other passengers. But everyone was staring at him with expressions ranging from shock to disgust. Even the white passengers. This wasn't 1955. This was 1975. The Civil Rights Act had been law for 11 years. The Voting Rights Act for 10. The world had changed, even if men like William Hendricks hadn't. "I don't have a choice," Hendricks muttered, shoving his bag into the overhead compartment with more force than necessary. "Plane's full, but don't expect me to talk to you." "That's fine," Ali said, returning to his newspaper. "I wasn't planning on talking to you either." Hendricks sat down heavily, making a show of angling his body away from Ali, pressing himself against the armrest as if even accidental contact would contaminate him. The plane taxied to the runway. The flight attendants went through their safety demonstration, and for the first 20 minutes of the flight, neither man said a word. But then something happened that changed everything. The plane hit turbulence. It wasn't severe, just enough to make the cabin shake and the overhead bins rattle. But it was enough to make William Hendricks's face go pale. His hands gripped the armrest so tight his knuckles turned white. His breathing became rapid and shallow. Ali noticed immediately. "You all right?" Ali asked. "I'm fine," Hendricks snapped, not looking at him. The plane shook again, harder this time. Hendrix's whole body went rigid. A thin line of sweat appeared on his forehead. "You're not fine," Ollie said. "You're scared of flying." I said, "I'm fine." Another jolt. Hendrix made a sound in his throat, something between a gasp and a whimper. Ollie did something then that no one expected. He reached over and placed his hand on Hendrix's arm. Not forcefully, gently. "Hey," Ollie said softly. "Look at me." Hendrix jerked his arm away. "Don't touch me. I'm trying to help you. I don't want help from you." The turbulence got worse. The captain's voice came over the intercom. "Folks, we're experiencing some rough air. Please remain seated with your seatbelts fastened." Hendrix was breathing so fast now, he looked like he might pass out. His hands were shaking. Tears were forming in the corners of his eyes. Tears of pure terror. Ollie tried again. "Listen to me. I've been on hundreds of flights. This is normal. The plane is designed for this. You're safe. I don't need your help," Hendrix said, but his voice was weak now. Desperate. "Maybe you don't," Ollie said, "but I'm going to help you anyway. Because that's what people do. Not black people or white people. Just people." For the next 15 minutes, as the plane bounced through the storm, Muhammad Ali talked William Hendrix through his panic attack. He told him to breathe slowly. He explained how planes work, how turbulence is just air, how strong the wings are. He told him stories about worse flights he'd been on. He kept his voice steady, calm, almost hypnotic. And slowly, very slowly, Hendrix's breathing normalized. His grip on the armrests loosened. The color returned to his face. When the turbulence finally stopped and the captain turned off the seatbelt sign, Hendrix sat there in silence for a long moment. Then, without looking at Ollie, he said quietly, "Thank you." Ollie nodded. "You're welcome." Another 10 minutes passed. Then Hendrix spoke again. "Why'd you help me? You knew who I was. You saw the pin." "I saw it," Ollie confirmed. "Then why?" Ollie turned to look at him directly. "Because you were scared. And when someone's scared, they need help. Doesn't matter who they are or what they believe. Fear's fear." Hendrix finally turned to face Ollie. For the first time, he really looked at him. Not at Muhammad Ali the boxer. Not at Muhammad Ali the black Muslim. Just at Muhammad Ali the man. "I've hated you my whole life," Hendrix said. The words came out factual, not aggressive. Like he was reporting the weather. "Not you specifically, but people like you." "I know," Ali said. "My daddy taught me that hatred. His daddy taught him. It's all I've ever known. I know that too. So how can you sit here and help me? How can you not hate me back?" Ollie was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Let me ask you something. When that plane started shaking and you thought you were going to die, what did you think about?" Hendrix considered the question. "My wife. My kids. What color were they?" "What? In your mind, when you thought about them, did you think my white wife? My white kids?" "No, they were just my family." "Exactly," Ollie said. "When you thought you were dying, your brain didn't think about race. It thought about love, about family, about what matters. That's your real self talking. Everything else is just noise your daddy put in your head." Hendrix stared at him. "It's not that simple, isn't it?" "No, you don't understand what it's like where I'm from. It's not just about hate. It's about tradition. It's about preserving a way of life." Ollie leaned back in his seat. "Tell me about this way of life you're preserving." "It's about heritage, about Southern pride." "What heritage specifically?" Hendrix hesitated. "The way things used to be." "You mean when black people were slaves?" "No, Hendrix stopped. I mean tradition, family values, the way people used to respect." "Respect what?" Ollie pressed gently. "Help me understand. What was better about the old days?" Hendrix opened his mouth, then closed it. He looked confused, like someone had asked him to explain something he'd never had to explain before. "See, here's what I think," Ollie continued. "I think you've been told that being proud of where you come from means hating people who don't look like you. But those are two different things. You can love your family, love Georgia, love your heritage without hating me. One doesn't require the other." "It's not that simple," Hendrix repeated, but there was less conviction in his voice now. "What do you do for a living?" Ollie asked, changing tactics. "I manage a tire factory." "You got black people working for you?" "Yeah, about half the workforce." "They good workers?" Hendrix shifted uncomfortably. "Some of them. Yeah." Some of them are probably better workers than some of your white employees, right? Hendricks didn't answer. So when you're at work, you judge people by how well they do their job. But when you're not at work, you judge them by their skin color. Why? Because Hendricks stopped. His face was conflicted, like he was having an argument with himself. Because that's just how it is. No, Ollie said firmly. That's how it was. There's a difference. They sat in silence for another few minutes. The flight attendant came by with drinks. Ollie ordered orange juice. Hendricks ordered whiskey. After he'd taken a long drink, Hendricks said, "You really don't hate me?" "No. You don't think I'm evil?" "I think you're confused," Ollie said. "I think someone taught you to hate, and you believe them because you trusted them. But that doesn't make you evil. It makes you human. We all believe what we're taught until we learn different." "How do you know so much?" Hendricks asked. "How do you stay so calm?" Ollie smiled, a real smile this time. "You know how many times I've been called what you almost called me when you sat down? Thousands. You know how many death threats I've gotten for people like you? More than I can count. If I hated everyone who hated me, I wouldn't have time for anything else. Hate's exhausting. I got better things to do with my energy." "Like what?" "I try to change minds. One person at a time. Starting with you." Hendricks laughed, but it was a bitter laugh. "You think one conversation on a plane is going to change 47 years of thinking?" "No," Ollie admitted. "But maybe it'll plant a seed. Maybe tonight you'll go home and look at your kids different. Maybe you'll ask yourself why you want them to hate people they've never met. Maybe you'll wonder if the life you're preserving is worth preserving at all. And if I don't," Hendricks challenged, "what if I get off this plane and nothing changes?" "Then nothing changes," Ollie said simply. "But at least I tried. At least I gave you the chance to be better than you are right now." The words hit Hendricks hard. You could see it in his face. "Better than I am right now," he repeated quietly. "We're all better than we are right now," Ollie said. "That's the whole point of being alive. To keep getting better. To keep growing. Your daddy taught you hate because that's all he knew. But you know more. You've seen more. You live in a different world than he did. You can choose to be different." "It's not a choice," Hendricks said. "It's who I am." "No," Ollie said, his voice sharp for the first time. "It's who you've been. Who you are is who you choose to be right now, in this moment. Every moment is a choice." The captain's voice came over the intercom again. "Folks, we'll be beginning our descent into Atlanta in about 20 minutes. 20 minutes left. 20 minutes for a man to change or stay the same." Hendricks finished his whiskey and ordered another. Ollie watched him drink it, saying nothing. Finally, Hendricks spoke. His voice was so quiet Ollie had to lean in to hear him. "I have a daughter," Hendricks said. "She's 16. Last week, she brought home a boy. Nice kid. Respectful. Said, 'Yes, sir,' and 'No, sir.' Looked me in the eye when he shook my hand. My wife liked him. My son liked him. But I told my daughter he couldn't come back." "Why?" "Because he was black." Ollie waited. "She cried." Hendricks continued. "She said I was mean. Said I was living in the past. Said she was ashamed of me." He looked at Ollie, and there were tears in his eyes now. Real tears. "And you know what? She was right. My own daughter was ashamed of me, and she was right to be." "What did you do?" "I told her she didn't understand. That I was protecting her. That's what I told myself too. That I was being a good father, protecting my family." Hendricks's voice broke. "But I wasn't protecting her from anything. I was just passing on my daddy's hate. Just like he passed on his daddy's hate. And my daughter, she's smart enough to see it for what it is." "It's not too late," Ollie said. "Isn't it? When you land, you can call her. You can tell her you were wrong. You can invite that boy to dinner." Hendricks laughed, but this time it wasn't bitter. It was sad. "You make it sound so easy." "It is easy. The hard part is admitting you were wrong. Once you do that, everything else is just action." The plane began its descent. The Atlanta skyline appeared in the distance. "I don't know if I can," Hendricks said. "Yes, you can. You know how I know? Because you're sitting here talking to me. The William Hendricks who boarded this plane 4 hours ago wouldn't have done that. He would have sat in silence, holding on to his hate. But you're not that man anymore. Something changed." "What changed?" "You got scared, and you let me help you. And in that moment, you forgot to hate me. Just for a minute, you forgot. And once you forget, even for a minute, you realize you can live without it. You realize the hate's not protecting you. It's just weighing you down. The wheels touched down. The plane taxied to the gate. As the seatbelt sign turned off and passengers began standing up to get their bags, William Hendricks sat still. He reached up to his lapel and unpinned the Confederate flag. He held it in his hand, looking at it like he'd never really seen it before. Then he dropped it on the floor and stood up. He looked at Muhammad Ali and extended his hand. Not a reluctant handshake, a real one. "Thank you," he said, "for helping me, for talking to me, for not giving up on me even though I didn't deserve it." Ali shook his hand. "Every person deserves not to be given up on." "I don't know if I can change everything," Hendricks said. "I don't know if I can unlearn everything I've been taught, but I'm going to try. That's all anyone can do." As they walked off the plane together, the flight attendant, the same one who'd offered to move Ali to first class, stood by the door. She'd heard parts of their conversation. She'd seen the Confederate pin on the floor. "Mr. Ali," she said quietly, "that was incredible." Ali just smiled. "I just had a conversation with a man. That's all." But it wasn't all, and the flight attendant knew it. William Hendricks kept his word. That night, he called his daughter and apologized. 2 weeks later, her boyfriend came to dinner. Hendricks shook his hand and meant it. 6 months later, Hendricks resigned from the Klan. He told them he couldn't be part of their organization anymore. Some of his oldest friends stopped talking to him. His brother stopped inviting him to family gatherings. But his daughter started talking to him again. And that, he decided, was worth more than any tradition. In 2003, 28 years after that flight, a journalist tracked down William Hendricks. He was 75 years old by then, retired, living with his wife in a small house outside Atlanta. His daughter had married that boy. They'd given him 3 grandchildren, 2 of whom were biracial. "Do you ever think about that flight?" the journalist asked. "Every day," Hendricks said. "Muhammad Ali saved my life that day. Not just from the panic attack, from myself. He showed me that hate was a choice, and I could choose something else. I wish I'd figured that out sooner. I wish I hadn't wasted so many years being angry at people who never did anything to me. But I'm grateful I figured it out at all." Did you ever see Ali again? No, but I wrote him a letter in 1996 when I heard about his Parkinson's. I told him what he'd done for me. I told him about my grandkids. I told him he was the bravest man I'd ever met. Not because he was a great boxer, but because he sat next to someone who hated him and treated him with kindness anyway. Did he write back? No, but I didn't expect him to. I just wanted him to know. Muhammad Ali passed away in 2016. William Hendricks died in 2007. But the story of what happened on that plane, a story that stayed secret for nearly 3 decades, reminds us that change is always possible. That the people we think are beyond saving often aren't. That sometimes all it takes is one honest conversation to crack open a heart that's been closed for generations. The flight attendant who witnessed that day, Martha Reynolds, finally told the story publicly in 2003 because she said the world needed to hear it. She said she kept it secret for so long because Ali asked her to. He didn't want publicity. He didn't want credit. He just wanted William Hendricks to have the space to change without the whole world watching. That's who Muhammad Ali was, Reynolds said in her interview. He didn't change that man's mind for fame or glory. He did it because it was the right thing to do. Because when someone's suffering, even someone who hates you, you help them. That's humanity. That's what we're supposed to do for each other. If this story moved you, remember, hate isn't hardwired. It's taught. And anything that's taught can be untaught. Sometimes all it takes is 4 hours at 30,000 feet, a moment of vulnerability, and someone brave enough to offer kindness when they'd be justified in offering nothing at all. Muhammad Ali didn't just fight with his fists. He fought hatred with humanity. And on March 15th, 1975, at 30,000 feet, he won a victory that mattered more than any championship belt. He won a man's soul back from darkness, one conversation at a time.